Nakama, you don't just drop bombshells like these in Q&A questions. Thank you to our final patrons, Strawbones, Roto4765, Midnight Gemlord, and Sean. Now, we're having this breakdown / discussion on the upper limits of Lancelot's transformation ability. Please don't forget to leave your own thoughts on Lance's transformations in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hit that little notification so you miss out on any videos that come with the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. You support as low as $1 exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, let's hop into the discussion. What's up, guys? I'm Pencil here, and here we are to discuss the kind of the wild Q&A answer that we got in chapter 92. Like, I didn't mention it in the review, mainly because I knew I had to make its own video. And here's the thing, right? Like, you may be wondering, well, what was this one Q&A question? You haven't even mentioned any of the Q&A questions, really, in all 92 chapters of reviewing Four Knights. And you're right, I have not. Because I didn't necessarily think I needed to, because none of them were like that interesting. They were just like little character quirk stuff. You know, I always appreciate that, but it wasn't like anything bonkers. It wasn't anything like, whoa, hold on a second, I need to sit down and analyze this and see if this is going to be used for the future. And other than like minor character things, there was nothing really of real interest, I'd say. But then chapter 92 dropped, and Heart Pounding Walnut got my heart pounding, because you see, Nakaba dropped the crazy, insane fact that Tristan has been fed Meliodas' food against his knowledge on multiple occasions, and has thus built up a resistance to the most powerful poison in the verse. That's crazy. Thank you guys so much for watching. Could you like, share? Okay, I'm joking. Obviously, the main Q&A question is question 97. Do Lancelot's transformations grant him the abilities of those he changes into? Flight for fairies, strength for giants, etc. And what does Nakaba say? They do. Lancelot's ability to transform is on a higher level than that of a pureblood fairy. Now, this raises so many questions, right? Because, like, notably, the thing is that it straight up says, or the question that's asked says, the abilities. Not just magical abilities, not just physical abilities, no, the abilities, the whole kit and caboodle, if you will. That's what Lancelot gets every time he transforms. And the other thing is that his transformation ability is on a higher level, a level beyond, a scope and range beyond the limits of a pureblood fairy. Which is weird, right? Because according to Nakaba, in the same thing, Lance can't fly in human form, for some reason. But yet he has a better transformation ability than pureblood fairies. Is his heart reading also better? Is that why he's so good at using it? Because once again, you can go back to the entire original series. Heart reading is rarely used, if ever used, to like read attacks the way Lancelot does. Even King and Gloxinia, two of the strongest fairies we've ever seen, never use heart reading like that. They just don't. So is that ability more potent? Did he have to sacrifice flight in order to get more potent other fairy abilities? Like, what's his nature control look like? Is that stronger than pureblood fairy too? But obviously, that, like, regardless of the pureblood fairy part, I kind of get that. Like, notably, humans are conduits for other magics and other forms. Like, it's just a thing that they are. Look at Gila, look at Hendrickson, look at every single vessel for the Goddess Clan or Demon Clan. Humans, due to their close ties to chaos and their, like, natural, more malleable state and more chaotic nature in general, it makes sense that they have a more natural ability to take on other forms and other skills. It just does. Like, notably, humans have, next to demons, the most diverse set of magical abilities per spread. It's just that their magical abilities are generally weaker than demons. Like, the Ten Commandments and all their unique magical abilities are more diverse and stronger, but that's just because they're literally just born stronger than most humans are. But humans have a lot of unique abilities that pertain to way more aspects of the entire verse, like gravity, thunder, wind, willpower, acid. Like, notably, a lot of demonic abilities are kind of just like portals, gains, I hit you harder, swapping places. Like, legitimately, human magic is kind of busted. So it makes sense that humanity, if mixed with the fairy, would kind of just level up their shapeshifting abilities because, well, obviously, with their ability to easily take on different properties a lot more easier than other races, then they're going to have that extra property. But the thing is, the most concerning thing about this is that Lancelot has access to the abilities of anything he transforms into. We saw this way back when he turned into a fairy against Melascula. He could fly. It was just as simple as that. And notably, it didn't click in my head then, because I just thought, okay, he has a fairy form, he can fly, he has wings, whatever. That doesn't really mean anything. But the crazy thing is, Nakaba implies here that Lance could transform into anything that he knows of and take all their abilities. Now, notably, I do think this is something like Tokinada from the... What was it called? I was about to say the Thousand Year Blood War novel. The Can't Fear Your Own World novels. I do believe it's going to be something like his Zanpakuto, where, like, Lancelot needs to have the raw stats of whatever thing he's transforming into in order to utilize it properly. Like, hypothetically, if he were to transform into, like, Gawain, he would need the raw stats of Sunshine in order to mimic the abilities to the same level that Gawain has. He's obviously not going to immediately get Sunshine or anything like that, but actually maybe. Because the thing is that's crazy is that if it really just baseline copies all the abilities, Lance has access to the entire original series worth of magic and strength. And the thing is, even if he has the stats limitation, regardless of where you want to put Lancelot, he is undeniably one of the strongest characters in the verse. Whether you think he's beneath the Demon King or above that demonic king tier or that goddess tier, something like that, he's at least above the 4 archangels. A bare minimum above the 4 archangels. Realistically, I'm drastically lowballing him, but let's just drastically lowball him. Realize that he now has access, due to the fact that he literally got 7 Deadly Sins 4K downloaded into his head. He has access to every single magical ability we have ever seen. And the thing is, if he can raise them up, like take them to the next level, he can take every single magical ability we've ever seen and make them better. Like, I'm assuming Nakaba's not going to do much with this, but by implying this, Lancelot just got like 12 times more broken. One of the biggest things I'm critiquing him for at the moment is that his kit is so limited. Like, legitimately, it's fine. It's not like his kit is weak or anything. Mind Reading plus Shining Road plus these hands is a dangerous combo. But in reality, I was like, I'm not sure, like, how's he really going to do against someone who, like, can ignore magic or something like that? Someone who can negate it? Like, if they shut him down in one way or another, how is he really going to compete? Well, here's how he's going to compete. He's going to transform into anybody and anything, and then jack their magic up times 1,000,000. Like, imagine Lancelot transformed into Gilthunder. And then using his magic that's in, like, a entirely different realm to Gilthunder, activated the Hammer of the Thunder Emperor. You know, that gigantic lightning bolt that Meliodas caught with 2 fingers? Yeah, imagine that just dropped 20 times as big. Once again, lowballing massively, but 20 times as big, just annihilating an entire area. Or he just summons 20 of them. Like, say he doesn't want to summon a really big one, he just drops 20 of them. He can do that. Remember Marmos? Yeah, you know that guy who ended up getting his armor melted and he got by the people who are taken over by Zeldris? Yeah, he could control gravity up to 30 times. And he was fodder. Booty meat. Like, legitimately, he was an unbelievably weak and useless individual. But give his gravity magic to Lance? Spaghetti-O. Now we have a guy who may just be able to multiply gravity by like 3,000, 30,000, 100,000. Like, legitimately. Once again, if he's able to scale up the potency of these magics to his stats, that's crazy. And the thing is, he doesn't even really need to. Let's just assume that it has to stay at the same level for one reason or another. It has to stay at the same level of the original. It's not like he doesn't have broken magics, even at their base level. He could transform into True Magic Meliodas. He could. He has the memory. He knows what it looks like. He knows the abilities. Gowther was there to witness it. All the sins were there to witness it. And Lancelot, through Gowther, was there to witness it. We need Lancelot to get access to an existence erasure attack. He has like 15. Every single arc spell at his disposal, because he can just transform into a goddess and use their abilities. He could turn into Mael. He could turn into Ludishel. He could turn into Tarmiel. He could turn into Sario. Would they be as effective? I'm not sure if he could use external powers. The only thing I'm not sure about is if he could use their external abilities. But then I still think that's good enough. Like, sure, he wouldn't have access to Ocean because, once again, it's external, Sun, Tornado, or Flash, but still having access to Ray of Judgment, that's a nice ability to just have. Bang. Omega Arc, jacked up to 1,000. Or even not. Still, but bang. Crazy. Once again, I still can't get over it. He could probably transform into True Magic Mel. Personally, to give you a hint on where I think Lance scales, I do think he does fall beneath True Magic Mel. It's very debatable. It's very debatable. I can see both sides of the argument, but I'm leaning, for my sanity's sake, I'm leaning that he's under True Magic Mel. But, like, I don't think he's lower than the Demon King. So anything beneath Demon King level, or even on Demon King level, can get hit by Meliodas' existence erasure, because Lance can just transform into it. He has the ability to, and that is the native magic of Meliodas. He knows. He knows. He could transform into Gother. He could just straight up transform, get his abilities, and start using Gother's magic. Merlin. He's seen all her spells, or at least every single spell he's seen her use, he now has access to. Just transform into her. Make Gawain completely irrelevant. Escanor, if you want to see, the thing is, you could argue that if he transforms into Escanor or Gawain, he could hypothetically use their abilities because they were both, well, maybe not Gawain. Gawain's a really weird case. We don't know yet. But at least with Escanor, he was born with the magic. He incarnated with it. It was infused into his very soul to the point where Melascula, when separating his soul from the body, could not do anything about it and got burned alive. So hypothetically, he could get access to Sunshine through transforming into Escanor. He could turn into the One Ultimate and then immediately turn out. So he gets the status, privilege, and abilities of the One Ultimate and then just snaps out of it. So he doesn't lose any of his life force. That's a little bit cracked. You could have 2 Demon Tristans running around. I don't know why you would want that. I don't know why you want that. That would be a downgrade from base Lance. No offense to Demon Tristan. But, like, imagine Lance transforming into Demon Tristan and then using his darkness abilities better. Because he would have access to them. They're in his kit. Everything we've ever seen before is in his kit. Imagine him transforming into Gila and using the explosions, and then immediately transforming into Jericho, and then using her ice abilities, and immediately transforming into Hauser and whipping up a massive tornado. He can do it. He can do it because Nakaba said he has the exact ability to transform into other creatures and take all their abilities. Every last one of them. Oh, we need a big, massive platform. Let him whip out Mother Creation. Just let him do it. He can just turn into Diane and then use that magic. I don't think Diane's going to be, or at least, who knows, maybe post-time skip Diane may be bonkers. She may be strongest in the verse, as far as I know, right under Sylvan. But in reality, I don't think so. I don't think 16 years ago Diane is going to be stronger than Lancelot. I just don't. So in reality, Lance could just do a Mother Creation. Heck, he doesn't even need Mother Creation. Have him throwing around multiple Mother Catastrophes. We don't have a giant rep. Yes, we do. Just indirectly. That is absolutely bonkers. It is absolutely biggity bonkers. Like, the utility that Lance has now is insane. Because just going off the innate abilities of some of the strongest characters we've seen previously, he now... Even worse than before, if this ability is actually explored by Nakaba, which is very 50-50. You know, it's very... I'm not sure if Nakaba threw this out to allude to certain things, or just once again, just answer the question that he's never going to touch on it. But, like, hypothetically, Lancelot 100% invalidates all the other knights because he can transform into all the other knights. Every single one of their abilities he can have. And if we go with the scale up idea, because he just simply has more magic, an unfathomable amount of magic power, then he just invalidates them horribly. I'm not exactly sure why Nakaba did this. Like, legitimately throwing this in there just makes me think, like, wow, no wonder Lancelot's gonna travel alone. I was worried he was gonna run into a utility problem. He could literally just transform into the Demon King. Just do it. Then he gets the Demon King's innate ability to just be immune to all magic. Meanwhile, being physically stronger than the Demon King. Even if we believe that he can't scale up the magical attacks with the magical power, he should at least keep his physicals. And this may sound wild, but I think Lance should at least, if you want to have arguments about Prime Demon King, you can have arguments about Prime Demon King. But at least 50% of the Demon King's power, the Demon King that was from 3,000 years ago, he can transform into that, have the magical ability, and be just fine. Once again, he has the data dump. He has the download. He could just turn into the Prime Demon King. There's no reason he can't. There's no reason he can't. He has access to everything. He also has the whole series downloaded in 4K HD 1080p in his brain. Now, I'm not sure how good his memory is, but if he can just transform into things on the spot, he can just whip that out. Have him transform into King Meliodas. Even if he can't remember True Magic Meliodas for some reason, just having Meliodas' abilities would be nice. Shoot. Darkness, Hellblaze, any abilities that he's seen Meliodas use, like all those, really, really convenient. He may be able to whip out full counter. Though admittedly, that's a learned technique, so I'm not exactly sure. But I think Lance, of all people, should be able to use it. He would just need a weapon. He'd probably have to use like an arrow or his bow or something like that. But that's the thing. It gets really, really bonkers with the upper limits of this ability. Notably, the verse is so filled with hacks. Like, we forget about it because characters get power clipped really, really hard. But like, imagine he transforms into Deldry and has that love ability. And just due to the fact that he's also an archer, just keeps and just blitzes, stabs somebody up with a whole bunch of arrows, and now they're so deeply in love with him that they can barely breathe. Imagine you have him use the tempo ability to just absolutely manipulate a battle in his favor. He can transform into any of the enemies he's seen too. You know, the Carrion Eater, what a great ability he had. Wither is snapped. Imagine he uses it with his physicals, and he has the Carrion Eater's magic. Crazy. If he needs to use Fiddich's magic, I don't think he does, but he could. He could just use haste, start speeding around all over the battlefield. And then the thing is, I'm even thinking of just combos, like wombo combos, having, like I mentioned earlier, with the Gila into Jericho into Hauser. That's with like 3 low tiers. No offense to them, but they're fodder. Imagine he starts comboing into different 7 Deadly Sin tier attacks. He transforms into Escanor to throw out a Cruel Sun, only to transform into Bon and hit him with a Hunter's Festival, drain all their strength, and then immediately send them into their worst nightmare with Gothar's Nightmare Teller, only to suddenly hit them with Existence Erasure from Meliodas' true magic form. What do you really want opponents to do? Like, Lancelot is so snapped. And who knows, maybe I'm like overestimating the ability. Maybe this was translated wrong, and maybe it isn't actually he has the abilities. But when I hear abilities, hold on, let me Google abilities real quick. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong thing. I don't know. Ability, the possession of means or skill to do something, and or 2, talent, skill, or proficiency in a particular area. I'm assuming this means the whole shebang bang. Because like, unless Nagba means like you only get what physical traits they have. Like, because notably, the original question doesn't necessarily mention what could be considered magical abilities. We don't ever really see fairies flap their wings because, like, obviously that would be way too annoying to animate and also way too annoying to draw. But fairies can fly by just levitating. We even see Lance do it when he's in fairy form, unless his wings are flapping and I just missed it. And with that being the case, that's a magical ability. Something that's inherent to fairies. So I can see it entirely possible that Lance just gets every magical ability. And like, here's the thing. Even if, like, let's just limit it down. Let's limit it even more. Let's say he can't do it up until a higher level than the original. Let's say he can't amp any magic. And let's also say he only gets innate biological abilities, right? Because notably, we don't get any specific fairies mentioned here, any specific giants here. So let's say he just flat out does not get access to innate magical abilities. So he wouldn't have access to true magic. He wouldn't have access to Let There Be Light. He wouldn't have access to invasion. None of that. Do you still realize, like, having the abilities of all the other races is still crazy? Getting nature manipulation is cracked. Having that is just neat. That's just in a base biological ability of all fairies. They do it all the time. If he can just do that, crazy, bonkers. If he can just control the earth, because, you know, it's a basic biological ability, you know, that's what they do. They move and the earth move with them. Bada bing, bada boom. That's just good enough to have. He gets access to darkness or light, arc or darkness. Those are just 2 good abilities to have. That still diversifies him insanely. That still takes his, like, low-key booty water kit. Like, give This is gonna sound wild. I know the Lance fans are gonna hate me for this, but give all 4 knights equal stats, and Lance has the worst kit. Like, hands down, Lance has the worst kit. Tristan has a better kit, Gawain has a better kit, and Percy has a better kit. Easy. The main thing that carries Lance right now is his raw stats. But if we just give him the common species-wide abilities of each of the other creatures, because they have flight and strength, you know, right? That was mentioned, the fairies and the giants, yada yada. He still has access to soul stealing. He still has access to regen. He still has access to hypothetical goddess level regen, which is absolutely insane. He still has access to existence erasure through Arc. He still has access to darkness manipulation through the demon clan. He still has access to nature manipulation, and then he still has access to earth manipulation. That blows everyone else's kits out of the water. Sure, Gawain has absolute cancel. Let her absolute cancel this rock. Have him drop a mountain on her. What's she gonna do? Tristan, you have control over darkness. How about you take this dark fist to the face, bro? Like, what are you gonna do if Meliodas gets transformed into in front of you by Lancelot and then he smacks you? Like, how would you feel? How'd you feel? Percy, oh, you can res yourself? Can't res yourself without a soul, buddy. Slurp that bad boy up. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy how wide the doors open and the multiple levels of interpretation. Like, hypothetically, the worst interpretation I could see of this that Nakaba means here is that he literally just gets to transform into other creatures and he just gets to use their like base physical appearance. Like, he can just be as big as a giant and then as strong as however strong that giant would be. Or he can just fly with the wings that are on the back of a fairy. And or he can just be as physically strong as whatever demon he transforms into, or whatever goddess he transforms. That's still crazy. That's still crazy. You have Mel, just doing Mel things. You have Elizabeth, just doing Liz things, preferably like Mael or Ludishel or something like that. You still just have Droll doing Droll things. You just have Gloxinia, King, doing King things. Like, still, these abilities are cracked. The highest level, like the most cuckoo crazy level that I could see why Lance is like banned from having a weapon right now, banned from having a spirit spear, banned from having anything at the moment, is because if he has the highest level of like, he can transform into anybody that he remembers, take their abilities if he knows them, and amp them up to his level of magical power, he solos the verse. Like, he just does. He just does. He could beat the Supreme Deity. One of the biggest things I had before this chapter. Like, I'm still working on the versus battle, but like, Lancelot versus the Supreme Deity is a matchup that Lancelot loses despite definitively having higher stats. At least I think like the Supreme Deity that shows up in Cursed by Light is at 50%. I don't think there's any arguments that she's higher than that. We know none of the graces return to her based on she never mentions it in the movie, and also we know Sunshine is not back with her and didn't disappear when she disappeared. So unlike the commandments, they did not get wiped out. The graces are still in circulation. So she was at 50% power. But before this Q&A question, I would have said Lance lost. Because what is he supposed to do? She's immune to physicals and she can diffuse all his light attacks. Shining Road is just light. We have no idea what else is in Lancelot's kit. It's a stalemate. Or no, not really. He can't beat her. She literally outlives him. Like, Lance has some sort of lifespan and can get tired. Meanwhile, the Supreme Deity could just stand there and nothing would work. At least that's how I thought. But now, if Lancelot has access to the Demon Clan, he turns into Meliodas, swings down a dark blade, and she's done. Like, the Demon King seemed like a pretty hard match. Not really. Like, you could just... Ironically enough, Lance versus the Demon King is like Lance literally just beating him to death. Like, legitimately straight up swinging over and over and over again until he, like, pounds the Demon King into a bloody pulp. But, you know, the strongest attack of Lance's that we've seen so far, full power Shining Road, it would have been kind of bonkers. It would have been kind of crazy. The Demon King would have just ignored it, reversed it, maybe gotten an amp off of it. Now, not needed. He can actually just get killer switched after Lance transforms into Gother, and then he can get hit with a Shining Road, because his magic would be disabled. That's it. Then he gets one shot. Any difficult matchup gets blown out the window, because Lance has access to too much information. Hypothetically, if he did not have the data dump download from from Gother, if he didn't have the entire series in 1080p 4K HD with high res on a 72-inch flat screen TV, maybe maybe this ability wouldn't be as busted because he'd be limited a lot. Whatever he's seen up until now in his 16-year lifespan would be a lot less. He wouldn't know all of Bond's abilities. He wouldn't know all of Gotha's abilities. He wouldn't know all of Meliodas' abilities. He wouldn't know all of Elizabeth's abilities. He wouldn't know any of that because he wouldn't have seen any of it. But with the whole series downloaded straight into Brody's head, he snapped. He snapped because he has everything. Everything we've ever seen with his stats. With his stats. Because that's the thing, right? There were a ton of hacked abilities that the human clan had access to, but they just couldn't use them well because they simply weren't strong enough. And usually in Seven Deadly Sins, no matter how good your hacks are, if your opponent just outscales you by a wide enough margin, it doesn't matter. Put Galland up against Marmos. Marmos was never winning that fight, no matter what. However, you give Marmos Lancelot level stats and throw him up against Galland, he's washing Galland. He's washing the Ten Commandments. He's washing the Four Arcans. He's washing pretty much a majority of the verse based off his scaling. Because he wouldn't be Marmos with his gravity manipulation amped with Lancelot level stats. Make Lancelot transform into Guild Thunder and keep his Lancelot level stats. The Thunderbolt uses solo in the verse. Going ballistic, going bonkers, going crazy. It's indubitable. Give Gila Lancelot level stats. Just take any character you have and have them scaring Chaos King Arthur level of stats. That's where you are with Lancelot. Because he can literally become any character that we've ever seen the Sins interact with and know the abilities of, or at least experience and witness the abilities of, because he got the whole plot. There are some obscure characters that may get left out, like hypothetically, maybe he couldn't transform to like Deldry and that one archer dude. Maybe. Because I don't think they were ever interacted with by any of the Sins before they ended up perishing. And I don't think they ever got to show off their magical abilities. But every other character, all the Sins were there. All the Sins were there in the final bout in season 1 where they saw everyone use their abilities. Meliodas literally experienced the whole kingdom's repertoire when he went against Demon Hendrickson. He has all that data, all that knowledge, and now Lancelot has access to all that. Every single ability we see Lancelot encounter on the way to Benwick, and any ability after that, is now completely at his disposal, as long as he can remember it. If he can remember it, he can do it. I think that's crazy. I think it's busted. I think it's stupid, but I think it's the best way to, like, it's the best way to keep Lance relevant without, like, giving him a weapon just yet. Like, if he ever runs into a kit problem, he has the whole entire kit of this series in his back pocket. I don't think he's broken. He's low-key kind of a Seven Deadly Sins comp character. Like, you know how composite characters are broken because they have all the abilities of their entire verse at one time? Lancelot pretty much has that. He is literally the entire Seven Deadly Sins verse minus like 20, maybe 20 magics. And even then the magics he's missing don't really matter. He has enough. He definitely has enough. Turning into the Demon King and or Supreme Deity is crazy enough as it is. Bro could turn into chaos. Like, legitimately, his abilities are unfathomable, insane, and unbelievable, and I love him. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think I'm over-exaggerating? Do you think I'm definitely overhyping it or something like that? Like, Lancelot, there's no way he could have that good of a transformation ability. Nagabo's just tripping, and I'm just overhyping this one Q&A question. Or do you think there's a possibility that even a fraction of what I've talked about here is possible and we could see Lancelot go absolutely bonkers? Please tell me in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure that little notification will see miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. You can support for as little as $1, count on $1 a month, with exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as little as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.